You are located on Henry Hill. Two historic roads cross nearby. The Manassas Subway Road, modern Route 234, enters the park near Subway Church and continues south 6 miles to the prized railroad junction at Manassas. The Warrenton Turnpike, modern Route 29, crosses the Subway Manassas Road near the historic stone house. The turnpike continues east over a stream called Bull Run and leads 25 miles to Washington, D.C. Today, this peaceful landscape provides a setting for understanding the two great Civil War battles that were fought here. This program will focus on the sites and events of the First Battle of Manassas. It is dawn on the morning of July 21st, 1861. General Joseph Johnston's 7-mile defensive line protecting Manassas Junction numbers over 30,000 Confederate troops, holding a strong position behind Bull Run, defending its numerous crossing points. On the high ground overlooking Stone Bridge, Colonel Nathan Evans' small brigade of 1,200 men guards the left flank of the Confederate line. 4 miles to the east, near Centerville, a slightly larger Union army prepares for battle. To avoid a bloody confrontation along Bull Run, Union Commander General Irvin McDowell plans to march almost half of his army around the Confederate left, ford Bull Run above Evans, and attack down the line of the Subway Manassas Road. Forcing Johnston from his defensive line, defeating his army in battle, and gaining control of the nearby railroads will open the way for McDowell to capture the Confederate capital at Richmond and gain final victory. Evans soon realizes his perilous position. A Confederate signal station 6 miles away near Manassas Junction notices the glint of sunlight off the polished muskets of a large enemy column marching toward Subway. They send word up to Evans by flag signal. "Look out for your left, you are turned." Evans reacts quickly. After sending couriers down the line for help, he leads 900 of his men upstream to intercept and delay the slow-moving Union column of 15,000 men. Halting briefly on the high open ground near the Carter Mansion, Pennsylvania, Evans hurries over to block the Subway Road. 9:30 a.m. The first of Colonel David Hunter's Union division splashes across Bull Run at Subway Ford and enters the Subway Road to the startled faces of local Sunday churchgoers. Nearing Matthews Hill, the head of the column collides with Evans' troops, forcing the column to halt and deploy into battle lines. The battle erupts in crashing volleys of musketry and supporting artillery. Although 2 brigades of Confederates under General Bernard Lee rush forward to Evans' support, the increasing Union numbers soon overwhelm Lee's and Evans' thinly stretched lines, forcing them to retreat. 2 additional Union brigades ford Bull Run above Stone Bridge and add their weight to the Union advantage. McDowell arrives on Matthews Hill and rides along his cheering troops, waving his hat and shouting, "Victory! Victory! The day is ours!" The dispirited Confederate troops flee past the stone house and seek cover on Henry Hill. There they meet Commanding Generals Johnston and P.G.T. Beauregard, who plead with them to halt and reform. When all seems darkest for the Confederates, a fresh brigade of Virginians under General Thomas J. Jackson arrives on Henry Hill. When General Lee anxiously greets Jackson with the warning, "They are bribing us," Jackson calmly responds, "We will give them the bayonet." Jackson deploys his men in a pine thicket along the southern edge of the hill, supported by 13 cannon. Jackson's determined stand on Henry Hill, blocking McDowell's path to Manassas Junction, will earn him his immortal nickname, Stonewall. 2 p.m. After more than 2 hours of preparation, McDowell finally issues orders to resume the attack. The artillery batteries of Captains James B. Ricketts and Charles Griffin lead the way to Henry Hill. Their 11 guns unlimber near the Henry House, less than 300 yards from Jackson's artillery on the opposite side of the hill. 85-year-old Mrs. Judith Henry is mortally wounded when Ricketts fires 2 of his guns point blank toward the house to drive off Confederate skirmishers. A circle of 24 guns suddenly flares with plumes of gray smoke, defining the grassy hilltop as the crucible of battle. The artillery duel continues on into the afternoon without result. Finally, Captain Griffin attempts to break the impasse by a bold action. He brings two of his guns to the far Union right in order to fire down Jackson's line of guns. But he can hold this isolated position for less than 10 minutes before being overrun by Confederate infantry. The capture of Griffin's guns marks the turning point in the battle. For the first time, Confederate forces seize the initiative. Jackson now rolls back his artillery and sends forward his infantry regiments against the remaining Union guns. For the next hour, the fight swirls around the Union batteries in a confused chaos of surging and retreating men, hand-to-hand fighting, acrid smoke, rattling musketry, and exploding shells. By late afternoon, the fortunes of battle had changed dramatically. McDowell's forces now feel the weight of superior Confederate numbers. Two fresh Confederate brigades arrive and strike the vulnerable Union right flank on Chain Ridge. Colonel Oliver O. Howard's New England Brigade attempts a delaying action along the ridge, but it is forced back as the Union position collapses. The retreat soon turns into a rout. An overturned wagon blocking the Cub Run Bridge adds to the panic, which spreads to groups of civilians near Centerville who had come from Washington to witness the grand spectacle of war. The exhausted Confederates are unable to follow up their victory, and the battle ends. The first major Union drive toward Richmond has failed. The losses at Manassas are sobering to both sides. War is no longer the entertainment of a Sunday afternoon. Both sides now begin the hard task of turning their raw, undisciplined soldiers into trained armies. The success of their efforts will extend the war 4 long years and eventually cost more than 600,000 American lives.